Hello everyone, Highlander here from MTG Cardsmith, doing another custom Magic the Gathering card review. Excuse me, I burped silently. And here we have a card by our friend Hergus. No, not Hergus. Globert-the-Martian. Sorry, Hergus Burgus posted right underneath him, so his name was in my brain. Globert-the-Martian. Mr. Funky Friday himself. So, he sent me a couple cards. Let's take a look at them. We got Ryykor. I don't know what the double Y there is for. Is that like... how do you pronounce this double Y? Like, what... like... why? Double Y? Ryykor. Ryykor. I don't understand. Like, why does it have the double Y? I mean, you know, I'm not going to take points off your card for this, but I don't get it. I don't get it. Why do you need the double Y here? How do you pronounce this double Y, if not the same as a single Y, and therefore why do you need the second one? Anyway, Ryykor, Brutal Despot. Okay, so he looks like a Brutal Despot. Look at him. He's got these clawed hands. So he's 2 white black for a 4/4. All right, decent stats. Ward 2. Okay. Legendary Human Noble. He doesn't really look like a noble, but I guess he's a despot. So, yeah, I guess he could be a noble. Creatures your opponent's control enter the battlefield tapped. Okay. I've seen that before on white cards. And, you know, it's usually flavored for, you know, cards that other cards bow to. That's the whole like joke with this. Whenever a spell or activated ability you control would cause a creature an opponent controls to become tapped, destroy that creature instead. Oh. Rykor's ruthless dominion left him with few allies and fewer enemies. So this guy basically just stops your opponent from playing creatures, period. It just destroys anything they play unless they can kill this guy. Wow, that's a really strong ability in combination with Ward. Right? Because it's like, unless they have like a 2-mana removal spell, let's just like assume you're on the play. Unless they have a 2-mana removal spell, they can't do anything for several turns. For as long as they... for a long time, depending on what... like, how does a green deck beat this card? How does a green deck possibly beat this card? Yikes. I think this is a little bit too much, Globert. I think, I mean, it's a neat idea. Certainly, it's a neat idea. But this basically says remove this or you can't play the game, right? And that I think errs a little bit on the side of too dangerous. You know, of course, it depends on what deck your opponent's playing, but you know, one thing that might work a little bit better here is potentially giving this guy a tap ability to destroy a tapped creature, right? Maybe something like that, because at least then you are sacrificing your attack step in order to do that. And your opponent has the ability to maybe try and like swarm around him. So there's a little bit of like counterplay there. But the fact that your opponent just can't play any creatures until this guy's off the board, I think is just too much. Especially especially with Ward, right? Like even if Ward wasn't here, I would still say this is probably not the best idea because some decks aren't going to play a lot of removal. Right, like green decks, for example, are generally about just putting things on the board, right? And most of green's removal is fight related, which means you have to have a creature on board already, and that creature needs to be big enough to fight this guy. So, how do they do that if you're on the play, and let's say turn 3 you're playing green. Let's say turn 3 you play like 3/3 or something, 3/4, 4/3, whatever. No, and then you play this guy, and they're like staring at this fight card in their hand, and they're like, okay, so I can't play any creatures, and my creature, either like the creature they have in play isn't big enough to fight this guy, or they have to sacrifice their creature and their fight spell to kill this guy. That second scenario is like not as bad, but you're essentially, they have to make that play. They have to, because otherwise they can't play the game anymore. And so I think you understand what I'm saying here. Yeah, I think a card like this would do better if this guy just if this guy was like a Royal Assassin type card where you would just tap to destroy a tapped creature. It's like creatures your opponent's control enter the battlefield tapped, tap to destroy a tapped creature, right? That way your opponent has some opportunity to play around this card, right? They can try to swarm around it. You know, if you've used it the turn prior, they can play a creature and then play a fight spell, for example, or do something like that. But the way this card is right now, it's just too much, I think. It just really, really hates on certain decks, and certain decks are just not going to have fun playing against this card. So yeah, I like the art here. I like the presentation. I like, you know, the creature or component that enters the battlefield tapped is nice, but once you get down to here, I think it just becomes too much. And I do like the flavor text as well. So I'm going to give this one a 5 out of 10. I think this one's just too much. I think it just needs to be dialed back some. And it could be a cool card once you do that. So 5 out of 10 for Ryykor, Brutal Despot, and get rid of that second Y. Come on. Come on. See you guys next time.